Hello, one and all, and welcome to Let's Play Ace Attorney Apollo Justice. I am the Max Few Trades. It is time once again to get our lawyering on. I probably could have thought of a clever way to put that, but that's what I'm going with. You'll have to forgive the somewhat unorthodox start. You see, we are now playing the HD port of the game that has very recently came out. I actually got it day of for this expressed purpose. And I kind of had to start the game immediately because, as it was very clearly laid out to me, the Switch icon, the user interface outside of the game, this thing is riddled with spoilers. I legitimately had to take my glasses off and unfocus my eyes to even get to the new game part. So that was fun. Regardless, we're here now. I remain unspoilt in all possible ways. We're gonna give it a go. And apparently this is the start of a brand new era. A whole new kettle of fish. Whole new protagonist. We ain't Phoenix Wright anymore. We're a lad named Apollo Justice. And as that has been very firmly said to me in the past, basically, everybody is gone. Everybody's basically just gone, with the exception of, like, the judge. I should not anticipate the return of any characters from the prior games, which is disappointing in a lot of ways, but we'll just have to make do. It means we're going to get new characters, and you know what, that's pretty cool too. We're going to be able to do it. Anyway, that's my customary introduction. Let's just do this thing and see what's going to happen this time. Panicked. Palms sweaty. I can admit it. I'm nervous. Good morning. Hello, how are you? Good morning, sir. You look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir? No, I'm loose. I'm fine. I'm loose as a goose. Stealing a bell. Come on now. A screeching noise. Is that your voice? I suppose it's to be expected. Your first trial and it's a homicide. I guess justice doesn't start small, eh? I once again have to posit the theory that there's literally never any crimes in this universe other than homicide. Like, seriously, just this one. Just once, I'd like to see somebody in this universe take on any other kind of crime. But, alright, yeah, okay. I'm fine. I got up at 5 a.m. to do my Chords of Steel voice workout. I'm fine. Oh, well, that explains it. And it did detect a certain rasping quality to your screech. I overdid it again. It's my general understanding that the idea behind the new protagonist is primarily that by the end of the third game, Phoenix Wright had basically become a super lawyer, incapable of failure in just about any capacity. So, realistically, nothing would really prove to be a challenge to him anymore. So it just makes sense to have a new guy show up who doesn't know what he's doing again. Which, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. As you know, your client today is a good friend of mine. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Drift gotten, sir? I'm all over that drift. Tokyo drift. As it happens, I dined with him the night of the murder. Wow. We can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite so much, and people might take you the wrong way. Yeah. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client. And so I shall. My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney. I kinda gathered. And today is my first trial. Not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, of course. And so do I. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him. No way. Okay. Whoa! Good, morning. Okay, so I've seen... I have to admit, I have seen images of this character. Perhaps it's meant to be obvious. Perhaps it's not. I have I don't know. I'm not gonna just say it, though. Good up morning. Morning. It's all up to you today. First trial, nervous. Meeting him, cardiac arrest. I think I'm supposed to say something. Help. So, you're fine. I'm fine. Ah, Mr. Fine, is it? In this universe, that's a perfectly normal name. Ah, I did remember you having an odd name. Well, we're off to a great start. Are you sure you're okay? I mean, with me? Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney, and he's your friend, so why? You'll see. Huh? You can do it. Be confident. I'm really sorry this happened to you. I mean, it's time. Shall we? Yes, sir. Obviously, questions abound at this exact moment. Okay, need to focus. First trial. Here comes justice! I appreciate the versatility of our new protagonist's name. The court is now in session. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. You have got to be kidding me. We literally dumped the entire cast of the original trilogy and this jackass manages to keep coming back? You have got to be kidding me with that. The defense is, fine. I mean, ready, Your Honor. Mind going, Blake. Don't panic. Oh, okay, no, too late. Your name was Mr. Justice, and this is your first trial? Yes, Your Honor, but, I'm fine, really. Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strange. Mr. Gavin? Yes, Your Honor? I was under the impression that you would be heading up this case. That was my intention, yes. However, a defense attorney must always cede to his client's wishes. And my client specifically requested Mr. Justice. Well, of course he wants justice, but to entrust his case to this greenhorn. Why? Ha ha ha! Name puns. I do not exaggerate when I say that you're the best defense attorney in town, Mr. Gavin. Okay, so Gavin's got trial experience, fine. But does he have cords of steel? He might. I don't know anything about the man. Then let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. I'm just gonna... the only reason I'm not outright stating it is because the question mark's over there. The game clearly wants this to be a reveal. Yeah. This is truly an unfortunate turn of events. I'm sorry we had to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright. Yeah, okay, so I got about 1,000 questions. I'm just gonna assume the game itself will answer them as we progress. But, you know, just as a bit of a, you know, primer. How? Why? And all of the other such words that could be used. Let's put the past behind us, shall we? These days, I'm merely Phoenix Wright. Piano player? Since when is that a thing that you could do? Mr. Wright, how could this have happened? I won't speak of it further, then. If the prosecution would be so kind as to explain the charges, Mr. Payne. To think, I saw you enter this room a fresh attorney, and now I'll see you leave in chains. Ah, Winston Payne. Subtle as ever, I see. I don't like seeing Phoenix like this. I really don't. The crime occurred at the Borscht Bowl? A Russian restaurant. I don't get out a lot. Are there Russian food restaurants? Is that a thing? The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him. Wham! On the head. Smack! Killed him cold. The customer at the restaurant, you say? And the defendant, you say he was the pianist for the club, it seems. Phoenix Wright, a pianist? This is the weapon that took the victim's life. A bottle of grape juice. Ah! I see. Okay. Grape juice is apparently our defendant's drink of choice. The court accepts the deadly bottle as evidence. And as I'm sure has been stated in the past, and will probably no doubt be stated in the future, not a censorship thing. He really does just like grape juice. Okie dokie. That do be a deadly bottle, though. bears the defendant's prints. Yeah, well, nothing's ever easy. Something to note, Justice. All evidence is filed in the court record. Yes, I know. Justice wouldn't know, but I know. This ain't my first rodeo. This isn't even my fourth rodeo. I mean, I've been doing this, man. Make a practice of checking it frequently. Yes, clearly. Attorney's badge. How long did I yearn for one of these? Just putting it on makes me feel ready. Let's see. Smith's autopsy report. Hey, all right. The time of death was around 2 a.m. Damn. April 17th. Death caused by a single blow to the forehead. Can I see any more details on there? Let's see. Between 1:45 a.m. and 2:15. Cerebral hemorrhaging resulting from blunt force trauma to the head. Shady Smith. Okay. Yeah, all right. Sure. Why not? Let's see. Boss at Gavin Law Offices, a first-rate defense attorney, and my trusted mentor. Pianist at the Borscht Club, formerly an ace defense attorney of some renown. Formerly a defense attorney. Yeah, that's a mystery. Also, 33, if I remember correctly. I want to say he was 26, 27, somewhere around there during Trials and Tribulations. So we're looking at roughly about a 6 or 7 year time skip. Okay, alright. I mean, I guess a lot can happen in over half a decade. But still. The victim in the case, a traveler only recently back in country. The prosecuting attorney, for all his experience, he lacks a certain presence. Is that why he tried to grow his hair out? Trying to make him seem a little bit more, noteworthy? Because it didn't work. I'm just going to tell you now, he just looks ridiculous. The court record. Right. I've heard of that. I would hope so, if you pass the dang bar. Use R to look at the evidence so far. I'm confident in your ability to handle this. Right. Just use R. Sounds like it's time for some hands-on action. Don't worry. Already did it. Taken care of. So the victim was a customer at this restaurant. But just who was this, Shady Smith fellow? We believe he was a traveler, Your Honor. A traveler? According to his passport, he had been out of the country for a number of years. He had only returned to this country recently, though his place of residence is unclear. And he had some sort of connection with the defendants? That, too, is unclear at present, Your Honor. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bowl Club on the night of the crime. If they'd only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano playing? That doesn't appear to have been the case. No, the motive had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of playing skill. I would contest that, but I think it actually takes longer than 6 or 7 years to even learn how to play a piano properly. At least to the point of being able to make a living off of it. So, and I do not remember a single utterance of a piano in prior games, so how did that happen? At least not piano playing. I'll let this photo explain what I mean. As we can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime. Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? Well, that's a crime in of itself. I mean, I suppose? Indeed. It appears our defendant has fallen to become the basest sort of criminal. Wow. Not the voice I was expecting. It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. Yet it was only that, a game, in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor. Competition? Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Wow. Blue flame. Alright, settle down there, Whitman. Come again? The cards on the table had blue backs, Your Honor. I believe the defense was waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify those present. And impress women. I'm sure it works for somebody somewhere. That'll be our first order of business here, then. To find out more about this fatal game of cards. How kinetic were they? That's a weird reference from me, but alright. Very well, defendants. You will testify to the court about the poker competition held the night of the crime. My pleasure. This is it. My first trial. Here goes nothing. Or rather, here goes everything. Alright, what are we working with here? I'm a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. Alright, well, I mean, I guess if you're being honest. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. The room where we play in the competition in there are the club's main attractions. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. That's all it is. A game. And our customers are happy. 2 decks of cards. A pianist who can't play piano? Better than a defense attorney who can't defend. Wow, you really? Very well. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Right, Your Honor! My first cross-examination. Don't blow it. Are you alright? You're sweating bullets. Bullets? Where? It's a figure of speech, dude. Come on. Justice, your voice sounds strained and raspy, too. My brain feels strained and raspy, sir. You've watched me perform cross-examinations many times. Though you've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher? What to do? Should I ask Mr. Gavin for a refresher course in cross-examinations? No. I've done this enough. I don't think they've... I sincerely doubt they've changed up the formula enough to really facilitate this. I'm good. No need for help here, sir. I think I've got this one covered. I think you'd better do more than think. You know it, or you do not. I'm fine! The courts of steel are ready for battle. My weapons? Press and present. Find any inconsistencies, any lies in the testimony, and reveal them to the court. That is cross-examination. Learn it, know it, do it. Inconsistencies? Lies? Phoenix Wright? As if. Phoenix Wright would never lie, and it's up to me to prove it. Well, if there's anything I learned from the many cases I've already gone up against at this point, it's that even people who don't mean to lie still get details wrong. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Honestly, there's something just about Phoenix's expression right now that's bumming me out. What happened to you, dude? Alright. Well, I guess we'll just start a pressing. So, how exactly did you get this job? You can hardly play. Oh, I play sometimes when customers demand it. So, I play them one song. That's usually all they want. Was that supposed to be a boast just now? The title of pianist is a mask. A respectable face I wear for the world at large. Then why are you really at the Borsbool Club? Yeah, your real job is apparently to play poker, which is another thing that I didn't know you could do. Then again, I guess you do have a lie detector on you, so you'd probably be able to figure out when you're being bluffed. So I guess it makes sense if you look at it from that perspective. They pay you just to play poker? That would seem to be the case. I'm a professional, after all. Do I detect pride in that statement? It's just hard for an honest, hard-working member of society like me to imagine. Yes, your imagination was always a bit limited, Winston. Damn! What? I've played poker for 7 years in that little room, and I've never lost once. What? You see why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. It's quite a draw. That is, I'm quite a draw. Wait, you've never lost once? Not even one time? As I said, I'm a professional. He's played poker for 7 years and not lost once? Is that even possible? Well, it's highly improbable, but not impossible. A minor distinction, perhaps, but a very important one. Huh. Room where you play in the competition in there are the club... Okay, the room is an attraction? How does that work? The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction? It has quite a history, actually. The Borsbool Club used to be a gathering spot for black market types back in the day. Black market? All in the past. Things like the black market are only on the silver screen nowadays. I find that hard to believe, but okay. Suffice it to say that there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right here in that room. A smoky room, gambling hoods. You know, just looking at this picture makes me feel bad. The bosses gather around the table cutting deals safe from the eyes of the law. Meanwhile, a goon keeps watch through the small window. I can practically picture it now. That window does look like it would be good for keeping a lookout, but little else. The room had a few other tricks to it, though it was common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they come to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun. Okay, but why does it have to be a Russian food restaurant? Why can't it... I mean... Okay, apparently poker is just straight up gambling and that's a crime in this universe, but like, if you make it... obvious that there's, like, no money to be won, then it's no longer a crime at that point. Why not just make it a poker den, then? A recreational poker den, I suppose. Anyway, okay, so why do you have 2 decks of cards? 2 decks of cards? A simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks, no one can slip in cards. Oh. Oh, okay, fair enough then. There's something else I noticed. In addition to the cards on the table, there are some lying scattered on the floor. Precisely. Cards on the table, cards upon the floor. Each one forming a complete deck. A crime scene painted blue by a sad sweep of cards. It's poetic, really. Incidentally, we used 2 types of cards at that club. One deck of cards was red, the other blue. As I recall, in poker you make 5-card hands. I can see how it would be easy to cheat. Yes, a game of hands. Eh? Okay. Do you play with your feet? What's the implication there? This competition you're talking about. I believe the court understands the nature of the game sufficiently. That's right! It was a simple game, after all. Are you sure? Eh? People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. I've seen... Well, I haven't seen, but I mean, in this game, and I've heard stories in the real world, a lot of people kind of just end up going, you know, crazy and killing people for much more arbitrary reasons. Like, I've at least heard of one instance where it happened because a cheeseburger got stolen. Like, you know, these things happen. God knows they shouldn't, but they do. Defendant, you were in the room the very moment the crime occurred, yet you claim no connection to the crime. Now, that's strange. What's strange? I was testifying about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point is against the rules, Your Honor. Of course, I expected to hear a cry of objection from the defense. Oh, I completely let that one slip by. Don't despair yet, Justice. Sir? Right? There's something I'd like made clear. Namely, your connection to the case at hand. And I'd like to hear it from you. Sure, why not? Very well. The defendant will amend his testimony. Just one little press, and I've got myself a whole new testimony. I plead silence regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder weapon. Okay, well, I already know that ain't the truth. Alright, time for the first ever one of it. Let's go! Objection! Did I just get an achievement? Okay. So, you say you didn't touch the murder weapon, this grape juice bottle, right? So I said. Something the matter, Mr. Justice? Oh. Oh, stop that. Too bad our new defense attorney never learned how to play dumb. What's this, Mr. Payne? I examined the bottle in question, you see, and it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints. Highly unorthodox. That is a weird objection. No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I can hear you just fine. Oh, haha, ha. Excess yelling can damage the judge's ears and our case. But what about my cords of steel? Anyway, what's so strange about fingerprints on a bottle in a restaurant? Well, that's true. The prints alone don't prove it. I did not miss that noise. Oh, they wouldn't prove a thing if they were normal fingerprints. Huh? But the fingerprints on the murder weapon were upside down. So? Upside down? What does that mean? It means he was holding the bottle inverted. And there can be only one reason for that. Yes. To brain someone with the bottle. That's not necessarily true. I hold my water bottle like that all the dang time. I kind of like to just sort of, I don't know, kind of shift it around in my hand like that in a really kind of neat motion. Plus, I think you could, there's a few reasons why that could have ended up happening. That's not going to be good enough. Okay, well, apparently he seems to think it's more than good enough. Okay. Mr. Gavin, I think things just took a turn for the worse. Really? I mean, yeah, I see no problem, Justice. Yeah. I doubt for the same reason that I do, but still. Huh? The only thing that matters is the truth. There's a good reason for everything. You'll see. Defendant, can you explain your fingerprints on this bottle to the court? I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. For now. Okay, well, I can't say that's not suspicious, but you're Phoenix right. I know you didn't do it, so acceptable. Also, why does your hat say Papa? It's been on my mind since I've seen it. Not very cooperative, are you? Well, this could hurt your case. I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason.
Objection!
Your Honor, you seem to have forgotten something. And what might that be, Mr. Gavin? On the night of the crime, who was it who reported the murder to the police? Reported? Well, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright, but still, that... Wait, really? Yes, well, according to the case file, the murder was reported from the near the scene by a call from the defendant's cell phone. Near the scene? Let's take a look at a diagram of the murder scene, shall we? There's always got to be a diagram. Yo, that's a small-ass room. What? The victim was murdered in a small room in a basement 2 floors down from ground level. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down. I find that hard to believe, but okay. The defendants used the stairs in the hallway to go above ground. The call came from the first floor of the restaurant. Is there snow on that piano? I see. And this is the phone that made the call? Ha! It's the same one as from before. He never upgraded. Alright, okay. Used by the defendant to notify the police from the restaurant's first floor. Okie dokie. The defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he so chose. Yet he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities. And you claim he is being uncooperative? Nice save, Mr. Gavin. I'd better not waste this. I think the prosecution has toyed with our client enough for the time being. Toyed? I assure you, no one is more serious about... What was it you said? The defendant was in the room the very moment the crime occurred? How can you possibly know this? Well, that's a good question. How indeed? The answer is simple, Your Honor. The prosecution has a decisive witness. You're as good as they say you are. I mean, he pointed out an incredibly obvious statement there. I don't really think that's something to be truly impressed by. Someone else was in the room the night of the crime. That must mean they witnessed the crime. Probably I mean, if there had to be another one in there, I'm guessing it was the dealer. Everything up till now has been a warm-up, Justice. Are you ready? No. Can't say that I am, but here we go anyway. Very well. The prosecution may call its first witness to the stand. Hello. The witness will state her name and profession. Hold on just a moment. Where's the witness? I get that she's, well, either she's incredibly short or she's hiding, and considering the expression, I'm gonna go with hiding. I get that she's currently hiding, but you might need to wear some glasses, Judge, if you can't see that. I surmise that she has been frightened by the defense's demonic-looking horns. Wow, really? So I used a little hair gel. Relax, people. Oh, dang. That's a deliberate stylistic choice? I mean, Phoenix's hair was just like that. You chose this? All right. Have no fear. If any horns point in your direction, this court will cut them off. You are sure? Wait, that is why you're afraid? I swear it on my gavel. Please, come out. Isn't violence against hair a crime, Your Honor? Good question. If you ran up and cut somebody's hair off, would that be a crime? Would that count as assault? Because it's not an injury. It feels like it should probably be a crime, but I don't know. Assault doesn't sound right. Well, if you are sure it is okay. Whomstative div div be thee. Now, the prosecution. Ah! Whoa, hey, wait a minute. Would the prosecution care to explain the witness's, paraphernalia? Yeah. She is a professional, Your Honor. These are merely the tools of her trade. She's a photographer? And that would be? My name is Olga O'Reilly. Okay. I am employed as waitress in Borscht Bowl Club restaurant. Then why the camera? Of course, it is my pride to serve borscht that is naming restaurant, but I also perform, how it is said, other service. I take it one of those other services is taking the customer's pictures? Yeah, flashbang! Like, for example, this one. That's the defendant. Indeed, on the night of the murder. Man in white hat is one who has gone kaput. Indeed, that is the victim. Order! Order in the court! This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop into our laps. It is same way as I drop cold bowls of borscht on laps of customers. Casually. Well, that sounds thoroughly unpleasant. Then the court will casually accept this new evidence. You mind if I take myself a bit of a wee gander at that thing for a little bit? Hang on. Now, witness, where were you at the time of the murder? Hang on, let me take a look at both of these crime scene photos for a second here. Just so I know exactly what I'm working with. Everything is important one way or another. It's good to look at all this stuff through, you know? Alright. And we've got this one, too. That is snow on the piano. Okay, I get that it's Russian-themed, but that seems a little bit strange to me. Alright. Alright, well, all of these are important for one reason or another. Just gotta try and remember them little details. I was in a room. The hideout, we call it. Excuse me? The hideout? It is a room where famous gangster bad guy was arrested. Okay, come on, game. You're usually a little more creative than that. Is a room where murder took place. What? Ah, damn, that actually kind of bugs my eye. Your look of utter surprise. It is lovely. I will post my courtroom door later for you. Photos will be numbered, and you will write which ones you want copy of. So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga O'Reilly, our witness. And if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, that means... Well, ordinarily that would be the case, but the fact that the game straight up outright said it out loud like that so early kind of gives me pause for thought. We'll go off the assumption as such, but still. Very well, witness, you will testify to the court about the night's events. I've cross-examined far more than enough people to know that facades are very much a thing, so, well, maybe she just is the killer. Alright, let's roll with it. That night, customer asked me to deal cards for game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on. The victim, he plays whole time with his hand on locket at his neck. Then last hand is done. But something terrible has happened. That man flew its victim and is strangling him to death. Okay, well, that's easy to debunk. Okay. Incidentally, who won the game? Isn't it obvious? The winner was the victim, Mr. Smith. That's ridiculous. Because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice, maybe you can come up with a more legitimate objection. But he hadn't lost in 7 years. Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose a case my first 7 years as prosecutor either. And that baffles me to this day. Incidentally, I have some evidence here. Okay. These are the poker chips as they lay the very moment of the crime. The hand of the chips on this side belong to the defendant, Mr. Wright. Those on the far side belong to the victim, Mr. Smith. Chips, you say? I mean, yes. Imagine that poker is war. Your hand is your army, and the chips are the spoils. Why is everybody getting so poetic today? I know that! After all, in my youth, I was known as the poker head of courtroom number 3. I think he means poker face? Looking at this picture, it does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Well, yeah, but aren't smaller chips usually worth more than the bigger chips? Or is it just the red chips that are more valuable than black chips? Either way, isn't that the case? I don't really know a ton about poker, but I've gained some, and I think some information. I think that's the case. Very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness. Right. The obvious issue here. All right, then. Let's see here. It was cold. I would like to learn more about their hats, though. It's already April. How could it be cold? At the Borscht Club, we have pride on authentic, rustic Russian restaurant theme. Outside, it is city in spring, but inside it is always as cold as Mother Russia. No way am I going there. Coward! When it comes to hot borscht, cold is best seasoning, da? I thought you said the borscht was cold. Interesting. Alright, also... I feel like I should probably check that out, too. His locket? I believe it was good luck charm, da? He gripped it many times as he played that night. Yes, he must have felt as though it might carry him to the moon and the stars. Everyone's so poetic! Though if it were small enough to fit around his neck, it wouldn't have much lift. The defense would like a clarification? This is a locket we're talking about? I mean a pendant with a picture in it, right? Not a rocket? Of course! I knew that! It was probably a pendant shaped like a rocket. That's why she called it that. No, a locket's a locket. It doesn't matter which... It's considered bad form to poke fun at the hard of hearing in our society. Hard of hearing or hard of understanding? Oh, Apollo, you have much to learn. So, what happened next? Alright, then last hand is done. But something terrible happened. Man flew its victim and is strangling. Okay, bit of a problem with that one there. Just gonna toss out an autopsy report like it ain't no thing. Oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, really? I see what they're doing here. Strangled, you say? Oh, now that's odd. Da, normal customers only choke on borscht. No, I mean, the report shows that the victim died of a blow to the head. Ah. Miss O'Reilly, really now? Did you witness the crime? Ah! Okay, well, that was actually kind of impressive. Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He's still wearing his hat and everything. I'm pretty sure you can get hit on the head while still wearing a hat. Yes, it is a fact that he was hit, Your Honor. Here's a photo we took of the victim with his hat off during our investigation. Also, where's the locket? You said he had one. Oh, that's quite shocking, isn't it? This head certainly was hit. That it do be in case of emergency. What am I even saying? But I have seen it happen. The defendant, he lunged at victim, his neck. Oh, really, Miss O'Reilly? I think I've caught you in your own lie this time. Justice, I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. But what do you mean? I found a contradiction. I demand a cookie! There's one thing in her testimony that troubles me. Very well. It seems we should continue the cross-examination. There's such a thing as thinking too much. This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much, too. Cool. Good to see that people still have telekinesis, or rather, telepathy up in here. Okay, so hang on a second. Victim with hand on lockets that he clearly does not possess. Objection! You wanna maybe explain that one for me? I'm a bit dumb, you see. You know, there was one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. But what does it mean? Mr. Justice, would you care to explain what it is you're thinking so intensely about? Well, recall the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with his hand-on locket at his neck, I believe she said. I hope you aren't about to raise an objection to the witness's grammar. Lord knows I should be allowed to, but no, I've got more substantiated claims. No, but look at this photograph. Do you see a locket on the victim's neck? Because I sure as all hick and heck do not. Well done, Justice. I'm impressed. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does it mean? If we are to believe this witness's testimony as is, then the locket disappeared following the victim's death. Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor. It's quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off, no? Taken it off? Wait, you don't mean... The defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it? Ah. Defendant, what do you have to say to this? Say. Yes? I just noticed this, but you have something hanging around your neck, don't you? Oh? You mean this? Yeah, it's a locket with a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter. Hi and hello? Is that why he has the hat? Phoenix is a dad now? I have more questions. I have so many much more questions. Who's the mom? My brain is literally buzzing right now with possibilities. Oh, I know which one I'm hoping for. Oh, no. Hang on. Let's dial it back. Dial it back. Don't be so optimistic, fool. Okay. Okay. I want to know more about that. Come again? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter? We confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture in the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. Oh my god. So Mr. Wright has a locket too? And also a daughter! I find that much more interesting, but I guess, you know, for the sake of the case, I guess locket is more important. Why don't I buy that this is just a coincidence? Well now, if the results of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear a bit more about the outcome of the game. Further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost. Badly. Is it? Miss O'Reilly, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and defendant. Da. Ding da da ding ding da da da. The game began with 3,500 points in chip for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, it was victim. For last hand, defendant play with all chips on table and lose. The moment loss was decided, defendant grabs bottle from table and... Indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game. As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow. How many times have I heard these words? I done it in a fit of anger, Your Honor, and now I regret what I done. A common tale, but true. Methinks the judge watches too many old court movies. I also feel like he's actually a judge and has probably legitimately heard somebody say that exact phrase more than a couple hundred times. Then again, I guess the accent probably implies otherwise, but still. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. Okay, well, I know what avenue I'd like to at least walk down. Let's find out here. Okay. Okay, can you tell me more about yon chips? Can I get like a point value up on this thing? Are the chips in this photo all the chips that were used? Of course. Okay. Something's fishy with these chips. Fishy chips. Should I press harder? Oh yeah, we pressing harder. Maybe you could explain a bit about these chips. Explain? What is there to be explained? Please stop with the voice. Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips. Not a chip off the old block, not a motorcycle cop, not... Y'all just really gonna go ahead and reference Erik Estrada at me like that? I don't think so, thanks. Now that I pressed her, I'd better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rubles, even? Yet, as I have been saying before, it was game, not gambling. Hard, perhaps, for capitalists to understand. Right. Japanifornia. 2 types of chip. 100-point chips and 1,000-point chip. It is not money, Justice? Sir? Don't you find her comments interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it added to her testimony myself. Well, does the defense want the witness to add this to her testimony? I sure do. Yeah, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add it to the testimony. I wish I knew where I was going with this. Well, good news, buddy. I actually do know where we're going with this. It's not going to be a sensation that I'm going to get to hold on to in this game very often, so I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts. Usually the game is about 12 steps ahead of me all the time. Very well, witness, if you would be so kind. Your Honor. One kind of chip is worth 100 points, other is worth 1,000. 2 kinds in all. Okay. Let me just make absolutely certain that I'm not, you know, next level stupid. Okay, I just wanted to take a gander here. Okay, so I guess I am just kind of going off the assumption here that the small chips are of more value. So, objection? Objection! Music stopped. That means I'm right. Woo! You're sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure? It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at the picture is enough to tell you who won, if you're not in kindergarten. Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court? Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Why, the big ones, of course. Duh. Oh, I thought so too. But then the totals don't add up. The totals? Okay, admittedly, I was just kind of going off of a random assumption about poker chips. I didn't think about that part, but hey, whatever works. Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips, and the combined total value of the chips was 7,000 points. Yes, if my calculations are correct. Let's see, 3 plus 1, carry the 5. They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points and the small chips are worth 100, and you add them up, how much is it? Do it yourself. You aren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony. What you gotta say about that one? But why? How could this be? Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Also, if you can, the where and the when and the how, but you know, whatever. Right, the only one possible way to explain this contradiction. The starting points were wrong, the chip count was wrong. Well, no, they were both right. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. If all the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, then there can only be one answer. Well, what is it? The value of the chips was the other way around. What? Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 1,000 points, not the big ones. Madness! Utter madness! Show me that photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips. What? Well, that does make 7,000 points when you add them up. Ba-da-bum-bow! Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Hey, I did! Maybe not in the way that the game actually intended for me to do it, but I still did it. It counts. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it. Okay, stop, please, God. That never stops being annoying. But wait! The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing. Indeed. The victim did have the larger number of chips still. Oh, there, hang on, never mind, just finally got to me. Exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points and the large chips are 100, well, let's do a little math. Add up the points for each side of the table. Oh! The victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points and the defendant had 4,100. Well now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible! Nay, highly probable. My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning. Yeah. Now, Miss O'Reilly, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime. Weren't you? Still impressive. Order! Order! It appears our defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we can trust the Excuse me? What is it, Miss O'Reilly? I did not want to be saying this, but actually, you see, see what, Miss O'Reilly? What do you see? In the last hand, there was cheat. Explain on that! A cheat? You don't mean a trick? Wait, or do you mean a scam? A hoodwink? A schmeckledorf? A hamdinger? They all literally mean the same thing. All the same thing. There you go. Yes, there was cheat in last hand. That is why game ends with chips as they are. Okay, great. Just great. First we have lying, and now cheating. What's next? Jaywalking? Not my watch! Well, this case certainly has taken a turn. For the interesting. Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating in the final hand. Y'all best be giving me that information. The last hand, both men had full house. There is 4 of each card in deck from ace to king. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. The next moment, game becomes argument. Da! The defendant's trick was exposed. He took bottle in his hand. Poor Mr. Smith. I don't see anything. Hang on. It looked fine to me. Okay. 3 sevens, 2 aces, and 3 kings and 2 aces. Yeah, no, I mean, there's nothing about this that makes that, nothing about that's impossible. Miss O'Reilly, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning? I thought I smelt a cover up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the covers. A full house is a very high-scoring hand. Not easy to make in my experience. That alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics. I'm pretty sure it's not even the most valuable hand you can get. Mr. Gavin, what's a full house? A mediocre sitcom that people have gotten nostalgia poisoning for into thinking was actually of more value than it was. Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker? I can't say this bodes well for your case, or career. Didn't you not but moments ago say that poker was a crime? Why would you even... Alright, you know what, whatever. What is this, some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice, you know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair, and 3 of a kind, yes? Yeah, no problem. 2 cards with the same number make a pair, and 3 makes a 3 of a kind. Good. Now picture a hand with 1 pair and 1 3 of a kind. That's a full house. That doesn't sound very easy to make, does it? You can see each player's hand in this photo. Yeah, wow. They both have full houses. We forget there's an easy way to make a full house and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat. The defense may cross-examine the witness. If he did cheat in the last hand, that still leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand. I mean, he did. Yeah, clearly. Who's ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? That's a pretty good point. Okay, but, let's see. The last hand, both men have... There's 4 of a card. Yeah. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. I don't see any of that. Well, what do you mean? How is it clear? Well, the defendant, he played a 5th ace. A 5th ace? I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand had 3 aces. And Mr. Wright's too. Obviously, cheating was afoot. Or perhaps I should say, a hand. No, I don't think you should be saying that. Your Honor, perhaps this could be added to the testimony without Mr. Payne's joke. 'Twas painful. Very well. The witness will add this detail to her testimony, please. Okay, so... that's... a lie. I don't see a 5th ace any ding-dang wearing here. The heck you on about, girl? It appears the witness is mistaken. Mistaken? But my name... maybe somebody else, but not you. Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice, perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. Don't insult the judge like that. In other words, use your finger to point out your problem. Ah, that gotcha. Yes, please point out the contradiction in this photo. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony? Well, they kind of sort of said that that they had 3 aces. I don't see any 3 aces over here. Miss O'Reilly, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. But as you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces. Yeah! Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question. All right, then fine. Take another look at the dang photo, you dork. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in his hand. As admittedly improbable as it is for 2 people to both get a full house, it's totally a thing that can happen. Where's this 5th ace? I see cheating all right, and it's going on right here in this courtroom. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating. Wait, please! It is true! I have seen it! The 5th ace! There was cheating, I swear to you! Well, that's odd. She must be lying, yet she's the most sincere I've seen her all day. You're right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin? Who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards. The cards? Mr. Payne. Yes? The players' hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court. Very well. The prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? The victim's cards or the defendant's cards? Well, if these cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Now, which of these hands is more suspicious? I'm gonna go ahead and say probably the one that was supposed to have 3 aces, I guess? So, the victim's hand. Well, it was the victim's hand that changed over the course of the witness's testimony. The defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's cards. Very well. Mr. Payne, if you would. Very well. I have received the victim's hand. Ooh. Ooh. I'm really glad those are cards. That would be way darker. Well, time's a-wasting. Get to it, Justice. Yes, sir. Ah, you want me to do a little bit of a rotate-em-up. When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using the right stick to turn it around every which way, and you can even zoom in and out. That should give you a better perspective on the case. Okay, let's do this. Hang on. Woo! Extreme close-up! Nah, but for real, though. Oh, well, yeah, there you go. What? There you go. Your Honor, take a gander at one of the victim's cards. The back is a different color. That's impossible. But I put that card in the right side. Uh-oh. What was that, Miss O'Reilly? No. Yeah, I merely said, I have... Your Honor? Mr. Gavin? Yes? Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? A gun? To cheat? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend, a comrade, shall we say. The dealer. Oh! Wait, so you mean... This witness, Miss O'Reilly, she's the cheater. A professional, I'd wager. Yeah! Good Gargan. Order! Order! He wants the nuggies! Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. I mean of her mistake. Alright, let's all be glad that you said that internally, dude. Damn. That would have been a hell of a slip. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we just heard. That's impossible. But they put the card in Wright's hand. Ergo, Miss Olga O'Reilly conspired to cheat, not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. Ooh! New song! Yep, I can vibe with this. Oh! Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean... The defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly, are you? This sort of thing happens all the time in this courtroom. Come on, man. Time for justice! There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident, and if Mr. Wright isn't guilty, well then that means I am. The defense accuses the witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly, of murder. Yeah! Go. That's still impressive. Mr. Payne, where is your witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly? It appears she has lost, consciousness, Your Honor. Mr. Justice, Your Honor? It seems you presented a new possibility to the court. One suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith. And that means this court cannot pronounce a verdict for the defendant at this time. Yeah, what? I did it! I held out! I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. The prosecution will need to make further inquiries. That sounded familiar. What? Mr. Wright? You can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet. What nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Think. One of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what it means? What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous. Mr. Payne, you of all people should know, Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. Boy, ain't that the truth. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night. As was said before, we alternated between 2 decks of cards that night. That was said before. The 2 decks of the club have different colored backs, blue and red. 1 color per deck. Why use different colored backs? If we use the same color, the 2 decks might get mixed. You use different colors and they still got mixed up. We used the red deck for the last game. I see, but that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using the blue cards. Wait, yeah. Yeah, me too. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards. Yeah. No, I definitely know who did. What does that mean? Whatever. In the end, 1 card of the wrong color got into the mix, which means there was cheating. Yes, a card slipped into the deck would seem to indicate cheating. Yet this card raises 2 serious questions. Apollo? Yes? Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think. In the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are 3 broad possibilities here. It could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Well, yeah, thanks for the news bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course it was swapped. Oh? It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne, or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When was the card swapped into the deck? Well, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I mean, if the card got swapped in, like, it would have been incredibly obvious that somebody had a cheated card. It had the wrong back. It would show up that way on the top of the deck and in someone's hand. And I'm just going to go off the assumption that nobody in the room was an idiot. So it had to have been after. I just don't know why you would do that. Perhaps it happened after the murder? What? What's that? Ridiculous! What's the point of cheating after the hands have been shown? That's silly. Objection! Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. And this time, it isn't improbable. It's legitimately impossible. Take it from me, son. There's a lot of silly in this world, but very little impossible. Oh? Even when the backs of the cards are a different color? If you pulled that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Oh. Quite true. That would mean that the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown. After the murder. Okay, this is going past silly and straight on to crazy. I ask again, what's the point of cheating after the game's over? Why would you do that? Or who would do that? Who indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us. There's another? Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about how that hat must have obviously come from his daughter, and that suddenly makes it very adorable. And I got distracted by that. A simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue card? What? Who? The game and murder is done. The victim is dead. Only 2 remain in the room. Alive, that is. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness, Olga O'Reilly. Okay, so who was it that swapped a red card for a blue? Well, Phoenix would have had absolutely no reason whatsoever to do it. And I personally feel like if Olga did it, then she would be, like, really, really bad at helping them cheat. And, again, at the end of the day, like, this case is still going. And also, there's that one interesting thing that kind of got said a little bit ago. So, let's go with this. The one who swapped the cards wasn't Mr. Right, of course. And, well, it doesn't seem like it could have been Olga really either. Because again, you would have just noticed. What are you suggesting? It's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. As a defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name Miss O'Reilly at this point. Yeah, I know, but she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make this mistake of swapping the wrong color card. And it's incredible. I also find it a wee bit interesting that you would say that. And if the card was swapped during the game, it'd be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking how much fun all this is. Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who swapped the card wasn't the defendant, and it wasn't Miss O'Reilly, then who was it? Yeah, well, that is the question, isn't it? Precisely. I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. A new direction? We'll find that indeed after the murder. Someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand. And that someone made two critical mistakes. I'm sure you're going to tell us that the first was swapping the wrong color card. Because the one who did the swap didn't know two colors of cards were being used. The other mistake was the number on the card. Right, the person replaced the fifth ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace after all. All they knew was that the game had been won with a full house. So they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in. Okay, but why? But there's one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist. True, not until now. But you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. Though it's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime. What? I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. This trial has proceeded on one central assumption. Namely, that at the time of the incident, there were only 3 people in that room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. The problem is that you chose to conceal this information from the court. I suppose that is a problem, yes. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during the recess. Certainly, Your Honor. Very well. The trial will resume in 20 minutes. Whew, quite the first case. That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. To suddenly claim there was another person at the scene of the crime like that. I must ask, is it the truth? Well, now, I think you would know the answer to that. This is going the direction that I think it's going in. Oh my god. Being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I've no time for mysteries. I'd only ask that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Kristoff. Justice? Yes, sir? The judge has summoned me to his chambers, so carry on without me. You did well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. That locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? You're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket? Here, you can take a look at it. There's a picture of my daughter in there. I want to see, I want to see, I want to see, I want to see, I want to see. So that's why people wouldn't tell me that character's name! Wow! Okay! I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. I assume so. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago. What I did. It's not unreasonable for you to think I might cheat. I am not privy to this information. I never! Honest, but it is odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. Want to know something? There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker. Eh? You see, poker's all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker is like trial law? Figure out what your opponent is thinking, and you win. Well, yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not. Eh? Try as they might to conceal it, everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That witness, for instance, Miss O'Reilly. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who'd notice that? Words, habits, twitches. It's all information for the reading. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me that. And now, I pass the secret on to you. But I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will. Soon. Almost forgot. One more thing about this case. You should know. I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it! I have my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. And Apollo? I need you to be there, defending me. I need your power. My, power? I had no idea my cords of steel were that special. It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. I get the impression that Phoenix... I mean, it's obvious that he's like at least 5 steps ahead of everybody here. It's all like one big layered plan. It's weird seeing Phoenix so incredibly in control of a situation. That's just not how I'm used to seeing him, you know? Crazy. I am curious how this is all gonna go.